To understand the feminine mind, you must begin not with her beauty, not with her charm, and not with her tenderness, but with the silent current that moves beneath all of it. The instinct for emotional influence. This is not manipulation. This is not deception. It is the timeless strategy nature handed to women when physical strength was handed to men. And within this strategy lies a fear so potent, so quietly powerful, that it shapes nearly every emotional reaction she displays. It is the fear of losing her hold over the emotional atmosphere between you and her. The fear of losing the power to influence the rhythm of the relationship. A woman does not fear your strength. She does not fear your ambition. She does not fear your independence. What she secretly fears is the moment she realizes these things no longer respond to her presence. She fears the moment when her words no longer sway your resolve, when her silence no longer pushes you to chase, when her disappointment no longer stirs guilt within you. For emotional influence is not about control, it is about connection. It is her way of measuring her significance in your world. And when that significance becomes uncertain, the fear surfaces. Imagine a woman observing a man she is drawn to. She studies not only what he says, but what he reacts to. She is not looking for weakness. She is looking for access. Emotional access, the ability to affect him, to inspire him, to shift his mind or his emotions even slightly. In her eyes, this influence is proof that she matters, that she is not merely a decoration in his life, but an active force within it. But when she senses that this influence is fading, when her gestures no longer create the emotional ripples they once did, she begins to feel the tremor of her deepest fear. The fear that she is no longer powerful within the relationship dynamic. This fear often expresses itself subtly. A woman may pull away, not because she wishes to leave, but because she wishes to see if you follow. She may create distance to observe whether you bridge the gap. She may let silence hang just long enough to gauge your reaction. These moments are not games, they are diagnostics. She is measuring her emotional impact. She is searching for evidence that she still holds influence in your world. Because for her, influence is safety, security, and significance wrapped into one. When a man becomes emotionally indifferent or impenetrable, a woman feels destabilized. Not because she wants control, but because she fears being irrelevant. Emotional influence is her compass. Without it, she cannot navigate the terrain of the relationship. A man who is too cold, too detached, too unaffected triggers the feminine fear of invisibility. She begins to wonder whether she misread everything, whether her intuition failed her, whether she invested her emotions into a man whose heart is unreachable. And this doubt is dangerous because once she doubts her influence, she begins to question the entire foundation of the connection. A woman's desire for emotional influence is rooted not in dominance but in desire. She wants to inspire something in you, whether it's affection, aspiration, passion, or even frustration. Her emotional expressions, her mood shifts, her subtle cues are all ways she attempts to understand the depth of your investment. A woman does not test the man she does not care about. She tests the man whose value she fears losing, the man whose emotional independence both attracts her and threatens her. Because as much as she desires a strong man, she also desires a man who feels something powerful toward her. In her mind, emotional influence is proof of emotional presence. It tells her she has not chosen a stone, a ghost, or a man hiding behind walls so thick she could never reach the core of him. When a man shows no reaction to her joy, no shift to her sadness, no warmth to her affection, she begins to feel a sense of powerlessness. And this powerless feeling is the very thing she fears most. It is not the man who is strong that troubles her. It is the man who is untouchable, because if she cannot influence him, she cannot bond with him. If she cannot bond with him, she cannot trust him. And if she cannot trust him, she cannot surrender to the relationship. This fear deepens when she sees you grow stoic or emotionally withdrawn. She interprets this not as strength, but as disconnection. A woman may act independent, fierce, unbothered, but internally she is constantly measuring the emotional signals you send. She needs to feel that she has some impact on your thoughts, your choices, your world. Not dominance, relevance. The reassurance that she still lives in your emotional space, even when she is silent. When a woman begins to feel she is losing her ability to influence you, she becomes unpredictable. She may grow more affectionate or more distant. She may become more patient or strangely impatient. These changes are her instinctive attempts to restore balance, to restore the emotional connection she fears is slipping through her fingers. Because to her, influence is not about power, it is about survival of the relationship, and losing that influence feels like losing the man himself. If you wish to understand the feminine experience, you must first understand the battlefield she walks upon every day. Not a battlefield of swords, armies, or kingdoms, but one of comparison. Modern society has created an endless arena where beauty is displayed, judged, and replaced within seconds. And as this world accelerates, so does a woman's deepest, most private fear, the fear of being seen as replaceable. This fear is not vanity, it is not insecurity. It is the silent pressure that comes from living in an age where admiration can shift instantly and attention can evaporate without explanation. A woman desires to feel chosen not accidentally, not temporarily, but distinctly. She wants to believe that among all possibilities, she holds a place of significance. Yet the moment she senses your attention drifting, even subtly, the fear awakens, not because she doubts her value, but because she knows attention is the currency of desire. The man whose gaze wanders too freely becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability to the feminine mind is danger. She begins to ask herself questions she would never dare speak aloud. Questions like, what if he finds someone more exciting? What if I'm not enough to hold his interest? What if I am only temporary in his world? These questions grow louder when she sees how effortlessly men can access alternatives today. Every time you scroll, every time you look around, every time you fail to notice her presence, she feels the tremor of this fear. A woman does not fear competition because she is weak. She fears it because she understands how quickly men can be distracted. She knows desire is a force that shifts with novelty, and novelty is everywhere. This is why she pays attention to the small signals you think she does not notice. She observes how you react to other women. She watches how your energy changes online. She senses when your interest in her becomes passive rather than intentional. These moments are not trivial to her. They are warnings, evidence that her place in your world may not be as secure as she hoped. A woman's fear of being replaceable reveals itself in ways that are subtle but powerful. She may become more attentive, more affectionate, more invested. Or she may withdraw, not out of disinterest, but to protect herself from the pain of potential displacement. She may become sharper with her words or softer in her approach. Her behavior becomes a negotiation between wanting to hold on to you and wanting to shield herself from the emotional fallout of losing you. This fear shapes her interactions far more than most men realize. The irony is that many women today appear confident, independent, and self-assured, and many of them are, yet even the strongest woman feels this pressure. Confidence does not eliminate the feminine desire to feel irreplaceable. Independence does not silence the longing to be uniquely cherished. Strength does not erase the anxiety that arises when she feels she is just another option in a world overflowing with them. This fear comes from a deeper place than pride. It comes from the emotional reality that a woman wants to be the woman, not simply a woman. A man may wonder why a woman reacts strongly to certain moments that seem insignificant, why she becomes distant when you fail to compliment her, why she grows cold when she sees you giving attention elsewhere, why she becomes emotional when she feels unnoticed. These reactions are all rooted in the same silent question lodged inside her heart. Do I still matter to him? This question is not petty. It is primal. It is the feminine instinct to secure her position in the emotional hierarchy of your life. A woman does not want to be tolerated. She wants to be desired with intention, chosen with clarity, valued with certainty. When a woman fears she is replaceable, she starts evaluating the relationship with sharp instinct. She looks for signs of fading interest, inconsistency, or emotional distance. She watches whether your admiration grows or erodes over time. She studies the tone of your voice, the warmth of your presence, the effort behind your actions. And in these details, she judges whether she is loved because she is special, or simply because she is available. To be special is to be irreplaceable. To be merely available is to be disposable. This is the distinction she hopes you see, yet fears you do not. Her fear does not mean she expects perfection from you. What she wants is assurance, not grand declarations, not poetic promises, but consistency. She wants to feel that even when the world is filled with alternatives, your eyes still recognize something in her that cannot be found elsewhere. She wants to feel that she is not competing for your affection against every passing moment of distraction. When she feels secure in your desire, she blooms, her femininity opens, her softness awakens, her love deepens. But when she senses your heart wavering, even slightly, she begins to question her place. Feminine fear of being replaceable is ultimately the fear of disappearing from the emotional world of a man she cares about. It is the fear that one day he may wake up and realize he could find someone who excites him more, inspires him more, or satisfies him more. She does not want to be interchangeable. She wants to be unmistakable. And the moment she feels this distinction slipping, the fear grows louder, shaping her actions, her reactions, and her emotional world in ways she cannot always control. To understand a woman's deepest psychological battles, you must recognize that her greatest vulnerability is not love, not trust, and not emotion. It is judgment. More specifically, the fear of judging a man incorrectly. This fear is ancient, rooted in the earliest instincts of survival. For a man, choosing the wrong partner may cause frustration or inconvenience. But for a woman, choosing the wrong partner has historically carried consequences far more severe. Emotional ruin, social instability, loss of security, wasted years, and shattered trust. The feminine mind remembers this cost even when the modern world pretends it no longer exists. And so she walks through romance with a sharp awareness, scanning, observing, decoding every detail of a man's character in an attempt to avoid catastrophic misjudgment. A woman does not fear love. She fears misplacing it. She does not fear giving her heart. She fears giving it to the wrong man. This fear shapes the way she watches you, listens to you, and tests you, not because she is suspicious by nature, but because she understands that a single miscalculation can unravel her emotional stability. She knows that men can present themselves in ways that are charming yet temporary, attentive yet inconsistent, loving yet deceptive. And so, she studies not your words, but the gaps between them, not your promises, but your patterns, not your affection, but the logic behind your actions. She moves through the early stages of connection with a quiet tension, caught between desire and caution, between attraction and analysis. Every man she encounters presents two versions of himself, the version he wants her to see, and the version he truly is. Her fear comes from not knowing when the mask will fall or what lies beneath it. She is not looking for perfection, she is searching for alignment. She wants to know whether your intentions match your behavior, whether your affection is consistent with your investment, and whether your interest is genuine rather than opportunistic. A woman has evolved to detect inconsistency with remarkable precision, because inconsistency often reveals hidden motives. This fear becomes most active when she starts to care. When she begins to feel drawn to a man, her instincts sharpen. She becomes more aware of red flags, even subtle ones. She notices changes in tone, shifts in enthusiasm, contradictions in your stories, lapses in your attention. Not because she wants to find flaws, but because she wants to confirm safety. A woman is naturally more cautious with the men she likes than with the men she doesn't. Indifference requires no scrutiny, attraction does, and the paradox is that the more she desires you, the more she fears that her desire might blind her. This inner conflict creates the tests men often misunderstand. A woman does not test a man to manipulate him. She tests him to understand him. She pushes to see whether your patience breaks, whether your character cracks, whether your interest fades under pressure. She creates moments of uncertainty to see if your consistency remains. For consistency is the antidote to her fear. A man who remains stable when challenged, calm when confronted, and sincere when questioned gives her proof that his intentions are rooted, not fleeting. These tests are her instinctual way of separating genuine strength from counterfeit confidence. A traumatic past intensifies this fear even further. A woman who has been betrayed before becomes a strategist in her own emotional life. She learns to observe more carefully, to doubt more quickly, to trust more slowly. She does not do this to punish the next man. She does it to protect the parts of herself that were wounded by the last. Her fear of misjudgment becomes sharper, more sensitive, more deeply wired into her decision-making. She may hold back emotionally not because she lacks feelings, but because she fears falling into the same trap twice. The man who understands this and responds with steadiness rather than frustration becomes the man she slowly begins to trust. A woman fears misjudging a man's intentions because she knows men can be selective with truth. A man may reveal his ambition but hide his impatience, reveal his affection but hide his indiscipline, reveal his charm but hide his lack of loyalty, reveal his passion but hide his lack of purpose. She fears investing in a man who appears promising but proves unstable, a man who appears devoted but proves distracted, a man who appears confident but proves reckless. This fear keeps her alert, even when she wants to relax into the warmth of connection. What a woman truly wants is clarity, not immediate but gradual. She wants to see evidence over time that the man she is choosing is the man he consistently chooses to be. She wants a man whose intentions do not shift with convenience, whose loyalty does not evaporate under temptation, whose commitment does not weaken under pressure. She wants to feel that she is giving her heart to a man who values more than her presence, one who values her trust. For trust is the currency she invests most carefully, and the one she fears losing the most violently. The fear of misjudgment is the feminine mind's silent guardian. It keeps her from giving too quickly, falling too deeply, or believing too blindly. It shapes her conversations, her boundaries, her pacing, and her emotional openness. It is why she hesitates when she feels too much too soon, why she observes you quietly even when she appears relaxed, why she keeps parts of herself hidden until she feels safe. To the untrained eye, this fear may look like overthinking, doubt, or emotional distance. But to the man who sees through the illusion, it is simply a woman trying to protect her future from the consequences of a single wrong choice. To understand the feminine heart, you must understand the feminine instinct. A woman does not fear strength. She fears the misuse of strength. She does not fear guidance. She fears misdirection. She does not fear surrender. She fears surrendering to the wrong man. This fear is older than civilization itself. It emerged long before kingdoms existed, long before laws were written, long before societies tried to tame human nature. It is the ancient worry that if she chooses the wrong leader, she will suffer consequences far greater than discomfort, consequences that affect her stability, her emotional safety, and her future. This fear shapes her attraction, her hesitation, her tests, and the timing of her commitment far more than most men realize. A woman is naturally drawn to masculine leadership, not dominance, not control, but the ability to provide direction, vision, and stability. Yet the paradox is clear. The same instinct that attracts her to strength also warns her from trusting it too quickly. She looks at a man and asks silently, "If I follow him, will he lead me into growth or into chaos?" This question is at the center of her psychology. She wants a man who can guide, protect, and anchor her. But she fears the man who merely performs these qualities without possessing them. For there are many men who appear powerful until pressure exposes their fragility, many who appear confident until responsibility reveals their inconsistency, many who appear ambitious until reality demands discipline. A woman fears attaching herself to a man who cannot uphold the weight of leadership. This fear becomes sharper when she begins to feel emotionally invested. In the early stages, she may be drawn to your charisma or presence, but the more she cares, the more carefully she examines your foundation. Because once she invests her heart, she knows the cost of choosing wrong is far higher than the cost of walking away early. She has to know that the man she follows is not simply leading himself by accident, but intentionally. That he is not drifting through life without purpose. That he is not emotionally unstable, directionless, or inconsistent. She needs to see that your leadership is real, not theatrical. That it is rooted in wisdom, not ego. A woman fears surrendering to the wrong leader because surrender is not a small thing for her. When a woman gives her trust, she gives access to her emotional world. When she gives her loyalty, she gives her vulnerability. When she gives her devotion, she gives her future. And if she gives these things to a man who is careless, impulsive, or weak in character, she knows she is placing herself in harm's way. This is why women test a man's stability long before they talk about commitment. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for proof. Proof that you can handle adversity without collapsing. Proof that you can handle temptation without losing integrity. Proof that you can handle emotional tension without becoming cruel or avoidant. These small moments reveal the nature of your leadership more than any grand gesture ever could. Her fear becomes even more pronounced when she encounters men who speak confidently but act inconsistently. A man may talk about his dreams, but does he pursue them? He may claim he can provide, but does he demonstrate discipline? He may promise loyalty, but does he live with self-control? She fears being led by a man whose principles are weak, whose emotions are unstructured, whose decisions are dictated by convenience rather than conviction. Because if she attaches herself to that man, she is attaching herself to instability disguised as strength. This fear of choosing the wrong leader does not make women distrustful by nature. It makes them careful. A woman's caution is not a sign of insecurity, it is a sign of intelligence. She knows that once she commits, her emotional investment becomes deep, intense, and powerful. She does not give lightly. She does not follow blindly. She does not surrender without watching how you handle your own life first. She needs to see whether you are a man who moves with intention rather than impulse, whether you can take responsibility rather than avoid it, whether you can lead yourself before asking her to join you. A woman will observe how you react to challenge. She will notice how you handle disappointment. She will study how you manage stress, success, and temptation. These are the indicators that tell her Whether you are a man, she can trust with her emotional surrender. Leadership is not about control, it is about direction. A man who cannot direct his own life cannot guide anyone else's. And this is what she fears most, following a man who pretends to lead, but is internally lost. A man who has ambition in his mouth, but not in his actions. A man who seeks admiration, but offers no structure. A man who seeks devotion, but cannot provide stability. The feminine fear of surrendering to the wrong leader becomes even more intense when she meets a man who shows flashes of potential yet lacks consistency. Nothing worries a woman more than a man who could be great but chooses comfort instead. A man who speaks of conquering his future yet spends his days drifting without purpose. A man who shows emotional depth but cannot sustain emotional maturity. She fears investing in a man defined by moments rather than patterns, because patterns reveal truth, while moments reveal illusion. What she seeks is a man whose leadership is not loud, but steady. Not boastful, but reliable. Not forceful, but grounded. She wants a man she can trust to navigate uncertainty without collapsing, to provide stability without demanding obedience, to inspire confidence without imposing dominance. Her fear of choosing the wrong leader is not rooted in weakness. It is rooted in the value she places on her own future. She is not afraid to love deeply. She is afraid of loving deeply in the wrong direction. And until she feels certain that your path is worthy of her surrender, she will hold parts of herself back, not out of rejection, but out of protection. Among the many quiet fears that shape the feminine psychology, perhaps none is as misunderstood or as deeply rooted as the fear of emotional overexposure. To a woman, emotion is not simply a feeling, it is a currency, it is influence, it is identity, it is the realm where she expresses her depth, her intuition, and her essence. Yet within this vast emotional world lies a risk she guards against with instinctive precision: the fear of letting a man see too much, too soon. Not because she wishes to be deceptive, but because she understands the power of mystery. And more importantly, she understands the danger of revealing her emotional world to someone who may not handle it with the respect it deserves. A woman fears emotional overexposure because she knows that once she reveals her inner world, her vulnerabilities, her hopes, her insecurities, her desires, she becomes emotionally visible. And emotional visibility is both a bridge and a risk. It is a bridge because it creates intimacy, but it is a risk because it gives the man the power to hurt her more deeply than anyone else. This fear is not born from paranoia. It is born from experience, personal or generational. Women learn early that vulnerability placed in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. Words she once offered in trust can be used later in conflict. Weakness she exposed gently can be thrown back at her with cruelty. Feelings she shared honestly can be dismissed, mocked, or manipulated. So she guards her heart with a strategy that is ancient, subtle, and elegant. She reveals pieces, not the whole. She opens slowly, not instantly. She watches carefully, not fearfully. Every step she takes toward deeper emotional intimacy is calculated, not in a cold or cynical way, but in a way that protects her sense of safety. A woman does not fear emotion. She fears misjudging the emotional capacity of the man she gives her emotion to. She needs to know that the man standing in front of her has the strength to hold her softness without mishandling it. This fear becomes particularly strong when she senses that a man is curious about her inner world, but not yet committed to protecting it. A woman can feel when a man wants access to her emotions, but not responsibility for them. She senses when he enjoys her affection, but has not yet offered stability. She recognizes when he craves her vulnerability, but has not earned her trust. And in these moments, her instincts warn her. She begins to move more cautiously, not because she is losing interest, but because she fears giving him something he has not yet proven he can carry. A woman's emotional mystery is part of her power. It is not manipulation. It is self-preservation. Mystery allows her to maintain dignity even when uncertain. It allows her to maintain value even when uncommitted. It allows her to maintain emotional leverage even when she is falling in love. A woman who reveals everything too soon feels stripped, not physically, but emotionally. She feels naked in a world where she is not yet sure she is safe. The fear of emotional overexposure is ultimately the fear of losing her inner sanctuary, the private place within her where she feels whole, secure, and grounded. As a woman begins to trust a man, this fear becomes conflicted. On one hand, she wants to open herself fully, to express her affection, to share her dreams, to reveal her vulnerabilities. On the other hand, she fears that the moment she does, she may lose the very mystery that makes her feel empowered. She worries that if she reveals too much, he may lose interest. She worries that if she becomes completely emotionally accessible, he may start taking her for granted. She worries that if she exposes her deepest feelings, he may fail to honor them. This internal conflict creates a push and pull dynamic that men often misinterpret as emotional inconsistency. But in reality, it is emotional caution. A woman does not want to be read like a simple book. She wants to be understood like a rare manuscript, layered, nuanced, meaningful. She wants a man who reads between her lines, not one who demands a summary. Her fear is not that you will misunderstand her. Her fear is that you will understand her too quickly, without earning the privilege of knowing her at that depth. She wants to be known slowly, carefully, respectfully. Emotional overexposure robs her of that pacing. It makes her feel as though she is handing over pages of her story before the man has proven he will treasure them. This fear intensifies when she begins to fall in love. Love makes her feel open, expansive, expressive, and yet more vulnerable than ever. She fears giving too much of herself before she knows that the emotional space between you is secure. She fears that if she reveals the depth of her affection, the man may use it as leverage rather than appreciating it as a gift. Women know instinctively that some men handle vulnerability poorly. Some men become arrogant when they realize how deeply a woman feels. Some become careless, some become distant, and so she holds herself back, not because she lacks emotion, but because she fears the consequences of giving that emotion to the wrong person. What she wants is a man who creates emotional safety through actions, not declarations. A man who listens before he judges. A man who responds with steadiness rather than volatility. A man who treats her vulnerability not as a tool, but as a treasure. When she senses this kind of emotional leadership, her fear begins to soften. Her guard begins to lower. Her walls begin to loosen. She begins to reveal more, not because she is losing power, but because she feels safe enough to share it. A woman's inner mystery is not a game. It is her emotional armor. And she only removes that armor when she senses that the man in front of her carries emotional maturity, not intensity, not excitement, but maturity. She looks for the man who values depth over drama, understanding over dominance, connection over ego. For that is the man to whom she can surrender her emotional truth without fear of being wounded by it. The fear of emotional overexposure is not a rejection of intimacy. It is the desire for intimacy with the right man, under the right conditions at the right pace.